Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode at Alta Call MAFS. This episode is season 18, episode 15. My guest today is Lola. Hi, Lola.
Hi, Tay. Thank you for having me back.
You are welcome. How lucky are you that you got this episode? This episode was cinematic, a masterful cinematic experience. It was fantastic.
I'm so excited. I think I literally screamed. I'm so excited to record because I was like, thank you for picking this episode to have.
Honestly, I didn't know. I didn't know. I saw
No,
clips
I
like
know.
just 2 days before and I had no idea, but it is, what it is. But before we go into the episode, some housekeeping to be done here. Just reminding you guys that if you'd like to listen to the episode ad free, you can on the Patreon. Patreon.com/AltaCallMAFS. And there is also another level where you can get bonus episodes of other shows, and there's currently a Sister Wives mid-season finale, well, episode or season finale with Aid. Aid made her first guest appearance back, so that's on there on Patreon. Love is Blind starts this Friday. The first episode will be on the regular feed, but moving forward, the subsequent episodes will be on Patreon. So make sure you subscribe. Okay, one last thing. I have a listener that I feel like I'm just going to go ahead and give my bouquet to because I think they have solved the mystery that we've been cracking our head on. And that listener is Elon. Elon, I hope I'm saying it right. But Lola, we've been going back and forth on what is wrong with Juan. Why is Juan not attracted to Carla?
Okay.
And she reminded me this week that in the matchmaking special and even in the early episodes, both Juan and Carla mentioned that they do not date other Latinos. They've always dated white people.
Wow. I have to go
And
back and watch.
I remembered it when she said it. I just don't know how I forgot. Like, this is why I always say, okay, I'll watch the matchmaking special. I did this season, and it's crazy how I've forgotten everything. And now I know how I'm going to watch it next season. So I retain stuff. But it was like a mind blowing, like,
That makes
moment for
some
me because
sense.
it makes sense. We're trying to remember. And when she said it, I remembered when Juan was like, he wanted someone who accepted his culture. And then she also said, like, oh, yeah, I haven't really dated other Latinos, but. And I think Elon also made the point that Carla is more open to dating, fellow Latinos, but Juan maybe hasn't gotten to that place or not. But that makes the most sense. And I'm so glad that you reminded me. So you get my first bouquet of the episode. All right. So describe this episode for you in one word, Lola.
Fire. That's all I have.
I mean, I probably shouldn't think of an alternate world, but I keep wondering what this season would have been if this whole thing hadn't happened with
Yeah.
these people, because it will probably be another dud.
It probably would have been. It probably would have been boring. And I can't believe we're just on what is it, episode 15 he said?
Yeah.
Like typically I feel like they save this for like the after what
Hmm.
is it? And it's just oh yeah.
They had to go in with it because if Alan refuses and he leaves or whatever, they have to explain his absence. I mean, we didn't have a whole episode of Ikechi today, and two
Oh
two men
thank
down. Two men down, how would they explain it? But yeah, they're still at the retreat. And last week it ended with Madison, walking away saying she wants to go home. But she didn't go home. Instead, she goes to the sink and asks Carla for a sound bath. So she tells us that they've spent more than half of the dinner talking about the drama of everything and it's draining. And Madison says, like, she wasn't trying to be insensitive, that she was just overwhelmed. She cares for both of them, Michelle and David. And she was just overwhelmed for both of them. Michelle says, yeah, I just felt like no one wants to hear her side and everyone takes David's side. All the women are there now. And you can see everyone just looking like, I'm just like, shut up with your scorned wife act. Like, you were awful to him. Doesn't excuse anything, but you were awful to him. So how are we supposed to know that you actually care?
I don't. This is so. Because I agree with you, but at the same time, I can't side with David, and I don't think you are either.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think she's just feeling. She wants to feel vindicated. Like
Yeah.
she feels like she's been made a mock of, basically. Like she knows she's right, and it doesn't excuse it because she was treating him really badly, but at the same time, everyone else is pretty much, besides Camille and Thomas, they're all kind of in the same situation.
Yeah.
No one else cheated, kind of.
Yeah. Why you say kinda? No one else cheated.
I mean, we don't know that for sure.
What? Lola's like everyone's suspect until proven
Listen,
innocent.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see that. What I want from the reunion is I want her step by step to tell me how she got there,
I know.
because that is one hell of a woman's intuition. And if the producers were not involved, that is like she should just go sign up for the FBI now and just start training. So she says that she feels insane for being mad and they're pacifying her. I mean, I'm rolling my eyes because I don't know, whatever. And then Alan is out there consoling David outside, saying he wasn't fully right, but not fully wrong. And David is justifying it by saying, oh, he just wanted some tender loving care. You know how I feel about people that say, oh, I'm a hugger? I think I'm going to add that list. If anyone says tender loving care in their vocabulary, I'm going to say I don't trust you.
Wait, why?
Because I don't know who says that. I don't know.
That's true. That's
It's like there's nothing really wrong with it. I have a lot of irrational like things that irritate me. So I'm just like, who says tender loving care? Plus I'm looking at him as a liar now. So and it's
he.
just crazy. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I said he is a liar.
I'm saying it's crazy because in the first episode, the first few episodes, we all like judge David and we're like, this man isn't ready, this man isn't this. And we're like, this is gonna be terrible if we're just judging the book by, I don't even know if it's by its cover or whatever. Maybe we could just feel his aura. And now he's just proved everyone wrong. Like at the end of the day, you're a liar.
Yeah, basically. Because all of that good guy act. I'm sorry.
Thomas says that he's too old for this drama because they're all going to bed, and Camille is like, "Whoo, that was a lot out there." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm too old. This man is tired. Like he's just in bed, not ready. Even when he's awake, Thomas is not awake, so he doesn't have time for all of this." And Camille says, "You know, that just makes me more thankful. Like I don't have to be worried about this because you know." I don't have to think about what you're doing. I know that you're going to be in bed icing your knee using the Theragun because it's too much work. Juan and Carla, I don't know what they're talking about. Their activity for tomorrow, they're so boring. It's white noise to me. I'm sorry. I know you love Juan, but I just last week they were talking about poop. This week
Oh,
it's the pottery. It's something. I just I zoned out. The next morning, Michelle and David are talking outside, and the ladies are indoors. And it was just cute to see Thomas. He was sleeping on Camille. That's just all I wanted to point out because they were talking about
yeah,
the conversation.
adorable.
Yeah, you're cute. So David apologizes with his usual PR words, which are, this is not who I am. I'm a great man. I was raised by great people. The only thing that was missing is I have failed my parents, my auntie, I've failed this, my that. And Michelle, and then he apologizes. He was like, I'm sorry for deflecting. And Michelle is like, how come it's taking you so long that you're making it seem like it's my fault? And he's like, well, I just wanted my marriage to work. And she's like, so did I. And then she kept asking and asking, do you think it was my fault? Do you think it was my fault? He was going around and around. And she was like, so you don't think I was trying? And she was like, before this happened, even you admitted that I was trying. And now you flip to, you don't think that I was trying. And Lola, this is why I said, do not give this women points for quote unquote trying, because trying is not going to become our new benchmark. It's not okay.
This is true. This is true. She hasn't been trying. I mean, I don't even know where she's getting that from. Can I just say though, the way she sips her water at the end of this conversation just sent me.
I didn't even notice.
If she sipped the water slowly, like I know you're lying.
It's Michelle and the follow-up questions, and you have to be like, I'm telling you, she does need to be like an interrogator or something. So David said, "Did I really think you were trying?" No. She was like, "Okay, so now I want to point out the obvious that you have lied to me many times. And is the text true?" He's like, "I mean, you don't want to believe me. I already told you that it is. And if you don't want to believe me, it's on you." And Michelle is going on and on about proving to her that he's telling the truth and he should show her his phone. And he's like, "I don't know what you want me to do." And she's like, "I wanted you to commit to the marriage." And the irony of that statement is a hell of a something, because I mean, I guess the definition of commitment is different for her. I guess is, even though we're miserable and I'm treating you like you don't exist, at least I'm still here, because she kept saying that I didn't leave, I could have left, but I'm still here. But you're making his life and your life miserable. But
I
for
know.
go ahead.
No, I know. I don't even understand. I don't even know what she meant by that. Like,
I'm
you're not there. You weren't present.
yes.
So what? I, she's been waiting for this moment because she's been looking like the villain the entire time, and she's just living for this. So
Yeah.
she's dying on this hill.
Yeah. And that's the thing. How do you define commitment? If I'm physically there, but I'm not mentally there, or if I am, you know, not well, allegedly David is not physically there because he's always working, but somehow he had time for gym dates. But but he mentally or allegedly physically checked out and is cheating. I'm not even going to put in air quotes or anything. It is cheating,
It
whichever
it
which way.
it is.
And he's cheating. So I in some way both of them are not committed to the marriage, but what is the norm? Cheating actually takes precedence. At least she was there. I think in her mind that's what she's thinking is, I was there. But if you ask me, no one was committed.
I mean, I think David tried at the beginning, right? Because she's his type. He found her attractive, but
Yeah.
she was never attracted to him. So she was done from day one.
Yeah.
And she hasn't been present, not even physically, because didn't she go home?
Yeah,
She
she
was in
lives in her house.
the apartment. Right. So she wasn't physically there. She wasn't emotionally there. She wasn't mentally there. She's been checked out too. So, but I don't agree with him cheating, regardless of the situation, because you could have just waited.
Yeah. She checked back in when the text message came in, but she said, "I care now." Um, so Michelle is, still on the case because she never lets anything die. She said, "You can't expect me to move forward if I don't have resolution." And in my mind, I'm like, "Yeah, you can. Just be like, I'm done." Like, you're never going to see this man again after, I don't know, the reunion or after decision day special or whatever it is you're going to do. You don't necessarily have to have a resolution. But again, ego, feeling vindicated, not letting a man from Michelle's eyes that you feel is less than you make a fool of you. That is her motivating goal. Like, I am not going to come up here and I'm going to take the heat off of me. And recency bias is a bitch because it's very easy to forget all of the things. Although it seems like the MAFS kingdom, people are not forgetting how bad she was. It's just such a tricky situation. If she wasn't so awful, people would probably be like again, cheating is bad, but it feels like there's an asterisk besides the cheating. Like, I wonder if the cheating was not Madison, like someone in the experiment, would it still be the same reaction? Or is it the same reaction for you?
I think it's the same reaction. It would have been different, I think, if it wasn't. You mean if it was someone else outside of the group?
Yes.
Oh, then yeah, it might be different.
Yeah. Because the casualties are within the group. So it
Yeah,
extends towards everything. So I keep wondering, would we be more forgiven, assuming you're overlooking the cheating, if it was someone outside.
Ladies, are you feeling overwhelmed by hormonal changes? If you're a woman, you're definitely not alone. There are more than 1,000 hormone disruptors living rent free in our environment right now. In our food, our water, the air we breathe, the clothes we wear, our skincare, and they all mess with our hormones. Then there's the natural hormonal changes our bodies go through. There's perimenopause, there's menopause. Whew, it's a lot. And while it's a natural process, it doesn't mean we don't suffer through it. But I have good news for you. We don't have to suffer through any of this anymore because now we have Hormone Harmony, a formula made only with herbal ingredients that are shown to reduce hormonal symptoms in women of all ages. Happy Mammoth, the company that created Hormone Harmony, is dedicated to making women's lives easier, and that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. They make no compromise when it comes to quality, and it shows. For a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code AltaCallMAFS at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code AltaCallMAFS, that's AltaCallMAFS, for 15% off today.
Where it's like, meh, go ahead. Or is it even bigger because it's Madison? And then
I,
Madison is also shitty to her husband.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what it is. And we're also thinking of it, well, as far as for me, in the sense of Alan. Like you can say Michelle has been whatever, but Alan has been present. He's been there. He's been nothing but he's fixing his teeth for her.
I
Like he's
mean,
getting Invisalign for her.
he gets something out of it, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, a straight teeth afterwards, but
Yeah.
that Invisalign is no joke. I had to wear it for 2 to 3 years, so I know. Like I felt for him. And I don't know. But what exactly does Michelle need a resolution from? Like, what does she need closure to? I'm just so confused by that.
It's what you said, just vindication. She feels
It's
like a man who's less than her has made a mockery out of her. So before I
basically,
leave this man on national television, I will prove that I'm not crazy. That
it,
and her obsessive
yeah,
behavior, her obsessive personality
yeah.
is what it is. So Michelle whispers to Camille and MM that I do not believe his story and that she's still fixated on Madison. And then I said it last week and I'll say it again. These people are not shocked enough for me. So right now I am leaning towards everybody knew, but
Yeah,
no one said anything.
that's how I felt too. Especially Carla. I mean, especially hearing her last week's after party, and
Yeah.
how said, they went away for like what, 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, and then they just appeared in a crowd. And I was like, oh, she knew. I think everyone knew.
She was saying that she didn't think anything of it because when you're not thinking of something, you don't get suspicious, but who knows? But for someone like MM who's animated, there was not enough, "Oh, no." Like, it was just like, "Oh, I don't want to." Camilla's like, "I don't even want to think about it because where do you go from there?" And even from the beginning when Michelle told her, she wasn't shocked enough for me, and I'm just like, "How did they contain this?" I mean, in the past, I was like, I didn't know if the cast knew, but I felt like kind of the producers knew, and maybe they knew there wasn't really like going to be love connection, so this could be a story. So just let it play out and then we can craft a story out of this and
Yeah.
just kind of because I'm just like, yeah, Michelle is smart and her intuition told her something, but was it helped along by someone else or did she just come with this by herself? But
I
honestly, it's not
think she
beyond me.
did.
By herself?
Because this is so me. Like I would like I would investigate until I find every answer to every single question. Like I don't so I can see how I think she probably had suspicions before
Hmm.
and this just escalated it and she's like, okay, this is what it is. But I do agree. I think everyone knew. I think the cast knew. I think the producers knew, which would also make sense to the theory of last week when David was leaving, and I think one of the producers was talking to him outside of their apartment,
Hmm.
and they said something to the effect of, "Is
It
that the
doesn't.
truth?" or something like that. Do you remember?
Yeah, yeah. She said that was when he came up with the Tiffany story, and then when
Yeah,
he was leaving, and she said it doesn't make sense.
exactly. Yeah. So I think
So
you and they were trying to get him to say something, and he just didn't.
I don't even know if that's worse that everybody knew and no one said anything to Alan because again,
Oh,
the only
Ellen.
victim in
Um,
this is
um,
Alan. I mean, yes, Michelle is a victim, but honestly, I don't see her as one completely.
yeah.
But Alan. So if everyone knew, no one pulled him aside, no one even said, because genuinely, this is the first time we saw him in real time come to the realization of what was happening. So he had no idea.
But who would have told him that? Well,
Anyone, they're all friends with him.
I know, but that's a really, especially when you don't have proof. That's a
Yeah.
really tough thing to tell Alan of all people. I don't
I think
know.
one would be the one to tell him. Just be like, hey, man, like, there's nothing, but one wouldn't do it without proof. He would
Yeah,
do it, he
exactly.
wouldn't get involved.
And I think he's closer to David. That's just the impression I get.
Mm, yeah. So Michelle says, I don't have any proof. It's just a gut suspicion. And she starts listing her reasons. I'm just going to list them now because she says them multiple times so that when I say it again, you know what her reasons are. Her name is Madison. Her name is Michelle, the M and the M. She is his type. She is blonde. And they like, they had some gym dates. I think those are the reasons that she mentioned. Am I missing anything else?
They were out together that night.
Oh, that night when she got
Like,
the
yeah,
text. Yes, it was that night. So as Michelle starts listing her reasons, Camille is just like, damn. MM is like, damn. and and then she's also like, I wonder why Madison walked away. Like when you were talking about Ikechi, she didn't walk away. And they were like, damn. The more you say it, the more it begins to make sense. And she's like, I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Camille says, she should just ask Madison. And Mama's like, I don't know. I think you should ask David first. And then Michelle is like, David just keeps lying to me, but maybe I should ask him. But who do you think she should have asked first?
Madison, because she already asked David multiple times and he just kept lying.
That's how I feel. Like it's just a waste of time to talk to David
Yeah,
anymore. He wants to shut it down or he's going to keep lying. But at the same time, these questions that she keeps asking, I think is just to give them a chance because
yeah.
she was already not going to believe them. Unless they were saying that they did it, it didn't matter. She wasn't going to believe anything that they said.
100%. But I think she basically said that too because she'd already made up in her mind that she knows
Yeah.
that the facts. She might have even caught them one day. You never know. But she it. So she's using all of this like I know you guys are doing something. I know you guys are messing around.
The one thing Michelle is good at doing is setting up a scenario. Because even when she asked him about the text, she did not say anything. So this man thought that he was free and he was clear until they got in the car where you can't run away. I can see what your facial expressions are going to be face to face. And then she's like, oh, where did you go? Oh, who was there? Oh, so it was this. So she sets things up like she calculates it very well to her
Like, why
advantage.
I do this?
Oh, so you are Michelle.
No, 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 no. I'm Michelle in this situation specifically. I'm Michelle in general.
um, so the next day, I mean, Madison is still air quotes trying and still putting on an act because she and Alan go out, they go karting, and then afterwards they start talking. Alan talks to her about decision day, and Madison is like, "Yeah, we've made progress." And then Alan asks, "Is there a part of you that thinks that, hey, I like this guy, there might be a chance, so fuck it, let's just take a gamble." And I'm like, Alan, why do you ask these things? Like this is not the first time he's asked a question that I felt is like he's setting himself up because it's very clear where she stands.
I know. Okay, two questions. Do you think this is producer driven, or B he someone has a sneaky suspicion? Maybe not all the way, but he has a sneaky suspicion that something else is going on. Maybe not with David, but with someone else. So he's just asking her these questions on camera just to say, I asked you and you had the opportunity to tell me.
I
Like,
don't I don't think he had a sneaking suspicion that something was going on. I think he knew, not even a suspicion, that she was not into him. But I think he just wanted to, I mean, producer driven, I think for sure, because they have to have these weird conversations after they do anything. But I think that's why he phrased his question that way. Like, and he said, take a gamble. Because it's like, this guy's solid. He might be good for me. Let's just see where it goes. Because even when he's ranting and raving at the end of the episode, he is saying, like, I knew from day one that I wasn't her person and she didn't like me and she didn't anything. But I think he thought that he would grow on her.
yikes.
Yeah. And as the days were going, and now they're like, how many days left to decision day? And he's realizing, nothing's changed.
But
But
literally just last week, she commented on his teeth and she said about his clothes. Like if she saw him at a bar, she would never have approached him. All the things she's been saying, he needed more proof.
yeah, it's why
He's
they call it.
basically M.
It's why they call it rose-colored glasses. And I do think it's that thing about him. I hate when she calls him that, but when she says that he's caretaker behavior, I think that's what it is. Like you feel like you're trying. On one end, I did think for a second that is it because he thinks what they call he's punching up, where she's much hotter in his opinion than he is. But then I remembered Alan is actually a secure man. I don't know. Is it an act or do you agree? Like, do you think he's like secure?
I don't think he's secure. I think he's a little bit insecure. But I think it's also what she's made him feel like, right? From day one, she's always
Mhm.
said, I go for the pretty guys. I go for insinuating that he's not good looking.
Mhm.
So someone, even anyone with confidence, is like, damn, what are
Yeah.
you saying? And she's obviously a pretty girl and whatever, whatever. So she's not giving him that affection. So I think it's a little bit of insecurity too.
Okay. Because yeah, that's what I thought about that for a brief second. Not as strongly, but more like, oh, I'm not gonna get someone that's at this level again. I need to try this. But I do think he genuinely cares for her. And
Yeah.
that and his giving him someone like that and his personality is not a good combo because he will stick it out and fight to the end based on like even his past relationship. But if someone tells you like she did, like, oh, I'm Switzerland on our relationship and we'll see where we head into next week. Yeah, okay.
Not Switzerland. I was like, what?
Wow.
No, Island. That's where you go. Okay, well, it's been real.
Wow. Those are low key the hurtful things that I feel like she says to him to his face. And then she'd be like, I'm trying and I'm honest and our communication is open. Okay, he's a human being.
Right, right. And she's been saying things like that to him. So I don't. Anyway, okay.
Yeah.
I'm being off an island because I like Island.
And then Carla and Juan, as always, they just go do their pottery. Juan does say that he's blessed to have her because she has made this a great experience for both of them. So again, I do think these two probably have an agreement. They've
Yeah,
like, yeah, we're just gonna make the best of it, and it is what it is.
100.
And we have this quick little scene of David and Madison getting drinks in the kitchen, and that was it. Then we move on to Camille and Thomas. They're having a moment in the hot tub. He's asking if they're in a good place. And I'm like, well, have you solved the living situation? Because all you had to do is figure out, where you guys are going to live after. But that didn't come up. And I'm surprised. Now, if our girl Michelle was in there, she would have had those follow up questions. Have you solved where we're going to live? Are you subletting? Are you renting a place? Are you buying a house? Are you this? But Camilla's in her love bubble. So she didn't ask those questions. And then from nowhere, honestly, I thought like I missed something. Thomas is like, "Are you ready to be a parent?" I'm like, "Huh?" He
It
did
was,
say it's coming left field, but
no, or maybe there was conversations in between. They were just like, oh, they're not talking about anything. Let's cut all of that out.
she says that she'd be ready in about 2ish years, but she does feel secure. She's making more money. And then Thomas proceeds to mention all the cons, I guess, of having a kid. You can't just pick up and go. You need more money. You need all things. I'm like, Thomas, you're the one who said that you were 42. You want kids sooner rather than later. And then now it seems like you're trying to stall. I couldn't get a read on that. So I wasn't sure where he was coming from with that.
I think he was just literally thinking out loud. Like everything was just coming out. He was literally just processing it and thinking about it and just spitting out whatever he was saying all at once. He's like, wait, I do want kids, but wait, you can't do it whatever you want. You got to do this, you got to do that. Yeah.
And in this case, these people need to get to know each other because they practically don't know each other. So, but it might help them bond or it might break them. They say children changes everything, so who knows?
But they don't fix marriages.
And this is your PSA from Lola today.
You're welcome.
So Alan asked Michelle for a chat, and I'm like, is this Love Island taking over? Since when do Americans say, can I get you for a chat? They started that in Love Island in the UK, and all of a sudden everyone says, hey, get for a chat. But maybe I'm overthinking it because I watch too many of these things. He tells her that he has experienced what she's going through. And even at the table, it was like, oh, they were telling him to drop it. And then he was like, I just wanted to see how you were doing. This guy is so thoughtful. But
I know.
he said that he and Madison went through downs because of the pain that he caused for her. When he said that, I'm like, oh, Helen is gonna hate watching this back. Like this, he's going to feel rage, embarrassed, and just annoyed all over again. Because how long ago was this? And then you have to rewatch it with everyone and then feel that all over again. I hate that for him.
I know. And your friends and family are all watching, the entire
Mhm,
watching. It's just,
mhm.
ay,
So
ay,
So Michelle asked him if David told him that he was texting other women. He was like, "Oh no, like I had no idea." And she was like, "Oh, the text was, the night that you guys were together." And he's like, "No, no shit." I don't think I realized Alan cussed a lot. He does, like he curses all the time. Like especially in this episode. And in this episode he wasn't even like mad yet and he was already cursing.
yeah.
So I think he was picking up on her energy. He's like, am I missing something? And then she goes on again with her theory, like, oh, he felt like he was texting somebody else. Like, I think it was for a woman. And then in the background, it was like a detective show music was playing in the background, like do 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 do. Like this, we were having a ball with this whole plot.
No,
And
did you notice her setting up the questions here also? Because
yeah,
she did so well.
yeah, she
She
does
was
this so
trying to get him
seamlessly.
to say the things out loud versus her saying it. So listen, this episode, Michelle kind of won me over. I'm forgetting everything else. Just kidding.
So she puts her caveat, like Michelle is so smart, and she puts her whole thing like, I may be crazy, I'm just spiraling. It's not necessarily truth. I don't have facts. I don't have this. But deep down, we all know that Michelle thinks and knows that she's right. Like, I'm
Yep.
not going to let this go. But Alan tells her, nah, don't dwell on the details. Like, it's not a big deal. I'm like, your dreams told you, Alan. Your dreams try to tell you. So the group is together and they're now playing games, and the games that they're playing is questions. MAFS most likely. They ask questions like who's gonna die first in a horror movie? Who's most likely to have an orgy? Carla. Most likely to be an exotic dancer? It was Juan. Alan said they said why? Why do you think Alan Juan would be the one? And Alan was just like, oh, like being a pool boy by a cabana and stuff. And then I raised my eyebrow, waited for it, and then remembered it was Juan. Juan took it much better than I did. Because my first thought was like, isn't that a stereotype? Like, why would you go
I
straight to pool boy
literally
cabana?
thinking too.
So
Then I was like, wait, am I a horrible person? Because that's literally what I was thinking, but he didn't take it that way. So I was like, okay, maybe that was in my head.
yeah, I mean, it's one. A lot of things don't bother him, so maybe we're too serious, or, you know, one is just the right temperature. So everyone was fine. And he said that it was his body. And then even in the confessional, he said that he quickly, I think he pivoted really quickly. He was like, no, he didn't, he meant it like look at his body, that he has a nice body and all that. And then the confessional, they're like, will you show us the body? And he actually unbuttoned his shirt
He did
and
a
was
little
like,
tease.
like Alan said, I have it, so I got to show it off. Most likely to be into adult latex play. It was funny because Camille was like, Alan, did you ask any questions? He goes, yeah. She was like, oh, okay, because I see a question I don't get, and I know it's just you.
Spot on.
So that was funny. And then they said most likely to get caught cheating. Immediately, Madison grabs a drink and chugs.
Who do you
And
question in?
who do I think what?
Ask that question.
I don't know because there are multiple, because it's either going to be Michelle, or Camille.
Mm,
I know it was a woman that asked that.
definitely.
So I don't think it was Carla though, but it was one of them. You think it's Michelle?
It, I no, on behalf of Michelle.
um, Thomas answers himself, and I'm like, wait, what? And then he's like, then he quickly explains. He's like, they didn't say who's going to cheat. It's who's most likely to get caught. And he's like, me. I'm a terrible liar. If I attempted anything at the first look at the person I want to cheat with, you'll be able to tell, and I'll get caught. So I was like, okay, good save, good save. Camilla's like, oh, I was about to say. So that
You
was
know, way
funny.
she looked at him. She was like, "Yeah, I've fallen off some stairs today."
Yeah, that he said as soon as I wrote it, I regretted it. I'm like, yeah, because remember, you mentioned that you cheated in the past. There's no use bringing that
Yeah,
up at all. So they said most likely to swap partners. And I'm like, these women are not even being slick. They're literally just bringing out all the cheating questions that would set Madison and David up. One said something that is interesting. He says, I think Madison. And they're like, why? He's like, I mean, based on the conversations that we've had, she seems to be most likely be the person that'll be like, fuck it. Why not just have a sugar daddy? And this brought me back again to this whole transactional conversation that happened when Alan said it. Once again, was not the right word, shouldn't have been used. But what kind of conversations are you having that one is casually just saying like she seems most likely to be like I'm gonna get a sugar daddy.
that's literally where my mind went to. Literally, and she didn't seem upset
Yes.
about this time when he basically said the same thing.
Yes, because I think that's as almost as offensive as whatever it is that Alan said, and she reacted very strongly to that. And it's the same thing that I've been saying, where she says, "Oh, I'm not a party girl. I don't like to be seen that way." But we saw a video. You go to the club, you're out till 4 a.m. every 3 days in a row, even on a weekday. She's talking about, oh, I think she mentioned like she didn't like drinks and that, but we see that she does like her drinks. I'm not saying that she over drinks, but it's again, if that's who you are, then just own it. If it's something you don't like, then you can change it. But anyways, it's not a judgment thing at all.
No,
It's
no
just
observation.
yes, and it was just very interesting that one was like based on conversations that we've
Right.
had, she's most likely to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna get a sugar daddy. Mm, So, Alan is like, huh, I'm curious about that.
Especially because you don't seem upset when I
Yeah,
said the same thing, but okay.
yeah. So Michelle steps out and to the kitchen to go get a drink or something, and Alan follows her. I guess he was cooking and he went there because they were there for a long time. I'm like, no one came out to be like, are you guys okay? And this is where Michelle did her best work. She says she has suspicions, but she doesn't want to talk about them. And we see Alan's reactions minute by minute as they change and he goes from panic. Michelle is leading him to think of Madison without actually saying it because she said, I don't want to talk about it. But then in the next 5 minutes, she's going to change this man's world. She says all the things, the usual blonde, oh, they were talking, it was the same night. And he was like, oh, yeah, I just found out. I didn't know that that night was the same night that they got the text, but I didn't notice anything. And then she's like, oh, you don't like, the M and the M. I just thought, and, they go to gym and they do all that. And then Alan finally gets there. You can see it in his face. And Michelle says, and what are you thinking? And I'm like, you are so cruel. You have prepared yourself. You've hated your husband. You are using this as vindication or rehab for your image or anything. This man actually cares about this girl, whether or not she cares for him. And you just dropped a bomb on him. You didn't even ease him into it. You just changed his world. And he's like, yeah, I can't see it. I don't see it.
Oh, oh. But then he was almost crying, and it
Yeah,
just this scene was very hard to watch. I'm not even gonna lie.
it was.
It was
It
tough.
was. It was just painful.
She processed everything on her own, and now she's trying to gain allies,
Yeah.
especially Alan, and she's just, oof,
Waiting for him to catch up and all that.
yeah.
So she asks, do they have each other's phone numbers? And I'm like, wait, they don't have a group chat? Or is she out of the group chat? And she doesn't know because everybody's number is going to be on the group chat. And I could have sworn they've mentioned like a group chat, or am I making it up and assuming
I
that they
know,
had one?
I know it's been like that with previous seasons, where it's like the guys have one, the girls have one, then there's a group chat altogether. But I think she knows that they do. She's just acting not stupid, but she's just trying to get him to join her in her mind, in her thought process also, I think.
Because part of her case is that if they were going out, like they would have texted each other, like Carla, Alan, Madison or whatever. So they
So
all have numbers. Yeah.
yeah.
So she tells him all this, then says, yeah, 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 process it. Like, but that's why I'm keeping it between us. I'm not ready to blow it up yet. And I'm like, you told you told Camille, you've asked David, and now you want
Didn't
to
you
keep it
tell
between
Carla
us.
too?
Eventually, but at this point, she hadn't
Okay.
told him yet. And then she's like, yeah, I'm not ready to blow it up. Like, take time to process it. And then she's like, yeah, I don't think it's right or whatever. And then she was like, I don't have him. She didn't say all this. This is me ad libbing. I don't have him exactly where I want him to for my plan to be laid out. She's like, okay, but why are you getting upset? Like, because he's crying at this point. And it's like, is it
Yeah.
because you think it's true? And I'm like, oh my God, Michelle, have some empathy. You just told him to process, but you gave him 1 second. Like, are you done? Okay, now I'm ready to
She
do that.
needs Alan on her side, especially Alan. This plan does not work without Alan.
Honestly, Michelle is a one man band. I don't think she cares. Again, she's an obsessor. She has decided what she's going to do. She just needs it to go how she's envisioned it in her head. So she just needs Alan to have a certain reaction, because if she doesn't get the reaction she's played out, she's a script writer. She creates things in her head. So after he says that, he says, because, I gave all my trust, and this is what happens when I do that, even when it's not warranted. And I'm just, why did Michelle have to drag him into her madness? It was just giving misery loves company. I just felt like she didn't consider his feelings at all. The fact that you want to know and solve this and get whatever closure it is that you're looking for, does that mean he wanted to know? Because believe it or not, some people like staying in their ignorance. I mean, I'm sure he's glad he knew, but I don't know if this is the way it should have been done. I don't feel like she handled him with care. Let me put it that way.
Okay. Okay. Because I was gonna say, you mad at her telling him or the way that she did it?
I think the way she did it, and again, maybe I'm being too hard, and I would love to hear people's thoughts on this. Is it abnormal that she wants the closure? No. But I always say this, people build equity with fellow people. So when you do certain things, you're like, even when it's wrong, it's easier. I don't know if this is a good example. Like Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Oh
That was
boy.
terrible. You should never hit anybody. You should never do that or whatever. But I do feel like people were willing to look past it versus if it was someone else, because Chris Rock has done a lot of nasty things to Jada in the past. I don't know how much
Yeah.
history people know about that. And then Will Smith on the other side, whether genuine or not, has just always been like, oh, the people's man or something. Again, I don't know if this is a good example. It's the first thing I thought of. So it's like he did it and it's like, oh, you hear some people saying Chris deserved it. Don't come on here and make fun of someone and all that kind of stuff. So you have equity. Michelle doesn't have that much person. Like if MM was doing it, maybe it would be different. But Michelle just coming on here and then I feel with a different agenda and not treating him considering how it feels. I mean, I know she said it like, Alan really cares for him and everything. And just to do it quickly in the kitchen because she was ready to move on to the next step of her plan. That's what I felt was, I don't know if there's a best way to do it,
Yeah.
but it could have been better.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm completely upset with how she did it either, because I don't, like you said, I don't know if there is a good way to do it just because
Yeah.
it's right. He's a very loving guy. He's nice, he's sweet. I don't know if there would have been another way to handle it without, because in her mind she's thinking I'm I'm not telling him what it is, but I'm helping him come to that conclusion, quote unquote, on his own. Just helping him put the pieces together. But then again, I don't know if there is a right way to do it. But he did deserve to know.
You see that putting the pieces together, he didn't ask for it. It's like if someone, like if someone comes to you for advice and you're like, okay, I don't want to say anything that will hurt someone, but let me drop some things. And then they're like, oh, I see what you mean or whatever. If she was going to, how I would have done it, there's no nice way to receive it. But that conversation they had maybe on the step or whatever, I'd be like, hey, Alan, here's what I'm thinking. Like, I've been having some suspicions about, Madison and David. I don't, are you interested? Do you want to know about it? Because I could be going crazy, but it's just thoughts that I had. And as her spouse, I don't know if you want to know, but if you don't, I respect it and I could just let it go and yada, yada, yada. But when you have a first conversation at the step and you're like, oh, I don't know, I'm not ready, but it was that night and it feels like you're laying breadcrumbs so that they could follow it to a little way. And then you come, oh, I don't want to talk about it now. Oh, I don't have facts, but I don't want to blow it up. Oh, let it stay between us. But don't you think that is this? Don't you think that's what I have a problem with?
I think she was giving herself an out because it's on camera. Like just in case she can't prove it. I think that's what she was doing. I don't want to sound like a Michelle defender, so I'm
It's
not
okay.
like I'm defending her in this episode.
No, it's okay. But I really would.
Like,
No, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say I get it. I get it. Like I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. But I really would like to know people's, opinion in this because I don't know that there's a good way, like we said, but I don't know. There was something that just sounded not malicious. And that's the thing. I
Yeah.
don't think she's trying to be malicious. A lot of these things Michelle does is just who she is as a person. She's actually being true to
You
herself and saying all that. So, yeah. So then Michelle pulls Madison aside because now she's ready for the next stage. So I think she just didn't want maybe Madison to tell Alan first or something. I don't know. But she pulls her aside and shares her thought process, the M, the blonde, the same thing, guys, and asks, what's the message for you? And this is where Madison fucked up. She
oh,
says, I don't think so. It shouldn't have been. And I'm like, yep. And this is where the case was closed.
yeah. Right there and there.
It was
100%.
done.
Yeah.
I would be offended. I would be like, "What? Like, wait. You think I would cheat? Like, what are you saying? Like, why would I even get a message from like what something?" And she's like, "Oh, I don't think it should be me." And yet, and I was like, "Yeah, okay." Especially to Michelle, that just opened more questions. And then Michelle kept digging and digging. She was like, "It wasn't for you, but was it?" And in my mind, it was for you. Then she was like, even if it wasn't for you, did you get it? It's just, it's so funny, her line of reasoning, even though it's accurate. And she's like, no, I didn't get it. And then Michelle asked, okay, do you have his number? And she goes, yeah, I have it for Jim. And she's like, do you text? She goes, yeah, about Jim's. And she's like, about what? Lola, I would have walked away. I'm no. Even if I was cheating or whatever or something, I'm grown. You are not going to sit here and grill me. I am not under arrest. There's no warrant. There's no nothing. I'm not going to sit here. So the fact that Madison sat there and answered those questions is the guilt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would have walked away. Would you have answered her questions?
If I was indeed cheating,
Yeah.
yeah, because I would have felt guilty. But if I wasn't, then I would have. I mean, like he said, like Camille said, like, what are you talking about, girl?
Mm.
Please, like, I want your man. But she was guilty, so she felt like she had to stay there and answer the stupid questions.
Yeah, even if I was guilty, I'm leaving. Yeah,
Really?
yeah. You're not gonna. Deed is already done. Me answering the questions
True.
is gonna do what? Like, it's just the whole. Why do you think you could talk to a grown person and ask those questions that way? Like, who are you? You don't pay my bills. No.
But that's her husband.
Huh?
Well, that's Michelle's husband, like, I guess, kind of.
Go ask your husband. Why are you asking me? I'm not obligated to answer you. I'm not gonna answer.
Did, and he was lying to her.
Well, good for her. I mean, that's not my problem to solve. I guess I just didn't like it. I don't.
Yeah, no, it was, I think, because she already knew the answers, and
Yes.
Madison wasn't helping with every word that she was saying. It was just giving Michelle vindicated. It was just making her feel vindicated. She's like, yep, you didn't react the way I wanted you to react. Check. You didn't say the things I wanted you to say. Check. So
Yeah.
I think she was just trying to get her to confess and just at least be woman enough to say, hey, okay, this is what it is or whatever.
Yes, and I think you're right because if there was a shred of a doubt that she was wrong, that is absolutely the rudest way you could talk to somebody. So she had to have been convinced that she was 100%.
Yeah.
So when they go on, Madison asks, "Oh, do you want to look at my phone?" And she's like, "No, I just wanted to let you know out of respect for you. Like I didn't want, you hearing from anyone else." And that was really surprising to me that Michelle didn't want to see her phone. I'm like, "What?" Madison says, "Well, I'm sorry you feel that way." I'm like, "Oof,
That laugh is so
oof."
annoying, especially the third.
This was so bad.
Oh,
Michelle comes out of it and was like, "Yeah, that was very suspicious." She tells and Camille what happened. And then Madison goes to talk to Alan. He's in the room just looking at his phone, looking very pissed. And she's like, "Oh, are you okay? Are you coming down?" He's like, "Yeah, I'll come down." He was basically giving her the cold shoulder. He was being quite cold.
yeah.
Alan tells us that things seem really fishy, and the reality is more likely that it's happening and it's more than he wants to admit. That the seed is planted and it is growing. Juan and Carla is staying out the drama. Those ones are in their own world. They're by the bonfire, freestyling to some song that's not on beat. And at this moment, I'm like, wait, why hasn't Michelle gone to Carla to say, hey, didn't you say that he was helping her look for her phone and it was for a while? Why hadn't that happened? Why wasn't that part of the plan?
But I was thinking when, because I don't remember her telling Michelle that, did she?
She did. When they all went for the sound bath at the yoga
Oh, the
studio.
sound bath. That's true. That's true. That
So
I was trying to remember if she said it during after party or okay, but she did say that. I remember now. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's a
So
lot that she doesn't remember.
no, there's no way. Michelle is not gonna forget something like that. So it's either they cut it out or I don't know. It just seems very surprising that she hadn't grilled Carla about that. So Michelle gets David and says she doesn't believe all of the stories and you want to talk about the text message. And David is like, I'm done with this conversation. She's like, I'm not done. That she's talked to Madison. And then she's like, aren't you curious, about what Madison said? He's like, no. And she was like, it's not, it doesn't seem to phase you. So she feels like she's onto something. And he was like, and he's like, I mean, that's on you. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if you're done. And then she was drinking the water again. Well, water alcohol, I don't know. It was clear in a glass, just really chugging her drink. And I was like, if you needed to catch your boyfriend doing something, Michelle is the friend to have.
Yes, she knows the right questions to ask. She's already made up in her mind that this is what's happening. That's it. So
Hmm.
there's nothing they could have told her unless they just said the truth. So she already knew. She was just trying to get them to confess. That's all.
Yeah, I know, but it was still masterclass, the questions
No,
that you were asking and then
yeah,
follow up.
yeah.
So Madison goes to Michelle and asks why she's being brought into this. And I'm like, that's pretty bold of you, cheater, cheater. And she says, because you guys were all together that night. And then Madison's like, well, did you ask Carla? And Michelle's like, no, I didn't, because I know David's type and it's you. And she says before she asked her that she didn't think Madison would do this, but the way she responded, like the text message should not have been for her, that was very suspicious. And then she's like, yeah, but we've texted, but only for gym times. Then she's like, well, do you text on social media? And I'm like, this damn follow up questions. Like, you already know, like, it's okay. And then we can all see. Madison says that she can prove it and she can bring her phone. I'm like,
Uh,
we do know what delete is, right? So she comes back, she shows her phone, but there were no messages on there.
mm,
None at all. These cheaters are so bad at cheating and lying that maybe they just shouldn't cheat and wait the 9 days. Well, now it should be 8 or 7 days and just be
mm.
together without all this drama.
No. Why do you think she waited to come back to Michelle though? Like if she felt this strongly about it, why didn't she say this initially during the conversation?
She panicked. She panicked
Yeah.
and then she thought about it and she was like, "Oh my god, I just absolutely said the wrong thing." So now if she
Yeah.
goes back and confronts her, she's like, "Oh my god, I've thought about this. Like, how dare you? Yada yada." But even that,
But now it's too late because you should have said that initially.
yes. I just don't understand completely wiping off your phone. You just told her that we text gym times
Right.
to each other. Keep the 5 p.m. Like, keep when David says, what time are we meeting today? Are we doing leg day? What machines do you think we should do? But to delete everything completely, which is
Uh,
probably what happens every time they communicate, they delete everything. That makes you even more suspicious. And again, to Michelle, she's no dummy.
nope.
Michelle says, there's nothing on here. And she's like, yeah, but we didn't. She said, but you said you texted. She goes, yeah, I mean, yeah, but nothing, just at gym times. Like, Michelle was like, she's like, I don't know what you want me to do. And Michelle's like, we can stop this. It's, we're done. Then
Oh man.
Madison says, you're making me out to be this bad guy. And this reminds me of something I said earlier where I said, like, I think Madison is like Michelle in terms of not cruelness. What is the word? In terms of being the bad guy, the villain, I guess that's the
Yeah.
best word, but she's very aware of the camera. So the whole
Yeah.
thing with Alan and all that kind of stuff is where she is. So for her to say you're making me out to be the bad guy, no one can make you be something you're not unless you're that thing and you give them the material to say that.
Right. What she meant was, why you bringing this up on camera? That's that's what she meant. Like I try really really hard to present a perfect persona.
Yeah, she could have tried 7 more days. So they were going back, forth, and then Madison's like, I mean, I guess there's nothing left to say. And then she walks away and says that, in fact, she just wants to go home. So the producer goes to Madison in the room, and then Madison is like, what do I do?
Oh,
And
I
I'm like, is this an admission of guilt? The producer says, is there any truth to that? And she says, I don't know. I never wanted to hurt anybody. That's going to break Alan's heart into pieces. And I'm like, well, well, well. That is an admission of guilt.
yeah, yeah. This is what we've been waiting for.
It has. The only thing I thought about was like when the producer goes, is there any truth to that? I was like, is this just for
You're
show?
they're just trying to get her on the mic.
Yeah. So, Michelle meets up with Carla. Carla's like, "What's up?" And then she tells her like, "Oh, I confronted them both and, it was a little suspicious." And Carla's like, Oh no. Why did you suspect her in the first place?
That was so fake.
So yeah, Carla had to look like she's always looked like she knew something. So she's just, I think she just chose like, you know what? I'm not gonna get into this drama. Like whatever y'all want to do, y'all do. So David and Madison. Madison wakes up David. She knocks on his door and was like, "Oh, can you come chat?" And then he make comes out, does this big to do, and is like, "Oh, you wake me up from sleep for this." Ugh. I'm like, this man was not sleeping, but okay. They've texted each other. They have made a
Thank
plan, and then he's like, "All right, action."
thank you.
So they sit down. She tells him that she wants to be honest about where she's at and that, they've had instant chemistry from jump and she's enjoyed their gym dates and all. And they have had good conversations and she likes him more than she should. He laughs and was like, haha, okay. She says she just wants to be honest and she doesn't think she can continue in her marriage. And it's not fair to Alan and it's messy, but this could be something. He says he'll be honest, he felt the connection, and she was the only person giving him attention, and he appreciates it. He asks if she has told Alan, and she's like, no, you're the first person that I wanted to tell. I want to tell you first. And, she hasn't actually even said it out loud to herself. Madison has a drink in her hand, and he actually grabs that drink and drinks from it, which tells me that they're very comfortable with each other and this is not like some first time, oh, I like you or anything. She's like, oh, we don't have to jump into anything. They've been doing this for a while. Why are they trying to fool us into thinking that this is the first admission of feelings for the other person?
Because they think we're Michelle. Like I don't oh Alan. Like it's so obvious. It's so obvious this has been going on for a while and I agree with what you said. That's why I was like, thank you. They clearly text each other and it's like camera, lights, camera, action. Let's go. Oh,
I, I do wonder why it wasn't the other way around. Like, even in their deception, why make Madison be the one to confess feelings? Why couldn't it have been David?
that's uh that's actually a good point. She probably wanted to be the one to do it because maybe because David was already the quote unquote villain for the past 2 weeks from Michelle.
Yeah.
So she let me just do it.
Then just ride it out to the end and be the villain all the way. But I don't know. Like I said, yes, Michelle was terrible, but not getting attention is not a reason to cheat. Like you can't like
No.
you need TLs. What is he said? Tender loving care. Like you see blonde hair and you get attention and all of a sudden, oh yeah, that's it. Because like Lola mentioned at the top of the episode, all the other couples are a mess.
Yeah.
Carla
Yeah.
can't even get a hug. So
From what,
so
Joe?
I don't understand. And again, I know I've said it so many times. The painful thing is just like they were so close to the end. But then again, this has started a while back, regardless of what they're telling us right now. I'm
Yeah.
very curious again. I'm add that to my list. Is when did all this start? I still maintain it was the honeymoon, but I don't know when that
I
is.
mean, also because that's the first time we saw them, you know, work out together. I think,
Yeah.
or was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why do you think, or do you think it was okay that she spoke, quote unquote, spoke to David first versus
No.
like? Why do you think she did that though?
I don't know why they do the things they do. From the moment they decided to cheat, they're stupid. They're going with their feelings. It's two things. They're going with their feelings, or this is just how it was crafted by the producers. Because all these stars always try to remind us, like, listen, you have to be careful because what we see is not always what it is. There's so much
Mm,
footage, and then they craft it because it has to be a story, it has to be entertaining. So I don't know what is what, but then the producers get mad when you say like they're making things up. So it's either producer driven or, they're stupid.
yeah, because it's like you're claiming Alan is this great guy. It's gonna break his heart, but you're not even giving him the respect of pulling him to the side and telling him first. what you're about to do. That's kind of she's just as bad as not as bad as Michelle, but like she's worse. But I just like, why not give him that respect? You were just worried about his heart being broken. Like she could have pulled him to the side or gone into the room and just told him, but she chose to speak to David first.
The third option is given the cold shoulder that he gave her, maybe he was like, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, but
I
I
doubt
also
it.
like that was her guilt too, because I've never seen her care that much about Alan. Gonna come downstairs? No. Are you gonna come down later? Are you okay? Since when?
David tells Madison that he can see it be something and he sees her as his ride or die. Lola, these people are bold. Like to cheat on national television and social media commentary and all that, you have to have a heart of steel to be able to do this. Like this is wild. And they've been coming an after party all happy, go lucky, like
Yeah.
nothing has happened. That is wild to me.
Yeah, this is damn near Australia at this point.
It sure
Like
is.
this this is as bold as they usually are in Australia.
But at least in their case, it's not a legally binding marriage.
That's
So they feel more free. This is
yeah. It's good.
crazy. While we're at it, Dave is like, oh, I do have something else I want to confess to you. That text message was meant for you. This adds to their lies. Because if the text message was meant for her, you allegedly just found out that she had feelings for you. Why were you so bold to send that message? That is offensive.
Right, right.
What?
Exactly. Exactly.
My platonic friend, nothing's happening, and you send me the, oh, you look so good, I want to eat you up. How dare you talk to me like that?
Because that is a bold message. That's not a
Yes,
random message you send to someone who you think might like you, maybe. No, that's someone
that
you
you're fucking.
that's it. Yes, basically, yeah. Like, you've crossed that threshold. Like you've done things. You don't just send that is a bold message.
And that's how you know Michelle is really good at what she does because she actually laid out that scenario in her script writing. She's like, this sounds like the message when you're at a bar and the person is right across from you and you
Yeah.
see them and then you text them because you want them to see you and you're like, you look so good, I could eat you up. Then Madison laughs and was like, ha ha ha. Like, I never, something about I never got it. And he was like, oh, because I sent it to my wife. Ha ha ha. They don't sound
Too soon.
remorseful. Like,
No.
Madison says, you know what? I think this is going to be good for us. We didn't come here to make friends. Ah, Lola, that was savage.
No, I know. They're so disrespectful. And back to the ride or die thing that she said or he said, it's like, how is this person that you quote unquote just met also the same time as your spouse, your ride or die, but they were cheating with you? You guys are cheating with each other on your spouses. Like, what what kind of ride or die is that? I can't with these people. They're so bold and they don't care.
I mean, they decide to shake it out, and Madison is like, "No, I need a hug," and then
Oh,
David is like, "I have 8 hugs." So they said they need to tell whoever they need to tell. So in my mind, they hug it out and they have an agreement to go ruin people's lives, pretty
the
much.
hug was the binding agreement.
They're like, "Deal. You're gonna hurt him. Deal. I'm gonna hurt her. Let's go. Power Rangers assemble." But
Yeah. Okay.
so they come downstairs. David does. And then he says, Alan, my man, we need to talk. And that's where I was like, should this conversation not be with his wife, the person he made a vow to? But no, they didn't come
Exactly.
here to make friends. So it doesn't matter. Alan makes himself a drink. They go outside. And David starts with, what we have right here is a situation. Alan says, just say it, man. David says that he and Madison have a connection that he and her don't have, and Alan doesn't have with his wife. I find it interesting. Oh, I said it the wrong way. That he and Madison have a connection that Alan doesn't have with Madison and David doesn't have with his wife. And I found it interesting that if you notice, David never says Michelle. He always says my wife. Again, like EKG, but like MM. but he is always saying my wife. At this point, Alan's leg is bouncing real hard. He says there's nothing physical. We just vibe. It's natural. And moving forward, I'm going to try my best to be verbatim of what was said by Alan because I want to do Alan right by this whole scene and this whole conversation. He asked when they started talking. And David is like, oh, the gym. And all they did was talk about their spouses. Alan takes a deep breath, like a visible, like, and David says, we vibed hard. And Alan says, I don't give a fuck. Like, honestly, what is David giving this extra information for?
That's what he does, though. He gives way too much information. That's the one thing Michelle accused him of doing from the beginning. Like he gave her too much information. This
Yeah.
is what happens when you're just guilty and you're just blabbing.
Alan says, number one, I saw you as a friend. David still has the audacity to say, I still see you as a friend. Of course you are. You are the person who's the offender. So, no, you're not friends. Alan says, number two, I always put a lot of trust in Madison, unwarranted trust. I knew I wasn't her fucking man from day one, and I told her the second you don't want to be with me, just fucking tell me. She didn't do that. She bullshitted me, she played me, and David, Mr. Dumb Guy, decided that this is the best time to defend her. She's like, no, she didn't,
Mhm.
bro. Shut the fuck up and let Alan talk. Like, come with your tail between your legs, be humble, and just let this man feel his feelings. Like, y'all have known, or whoever have known, and he's just finding out and processing everything, and there's alcohol in his system. I wonder if there's a limit for alcohol
No, the
on the
drunker the
cast.
better. That, that's what the producers say. What?
So yeah, so David's like, no, she didn't, man. She tried and da da da. And then Alan was like, fuck her and fuck you too. And David was like, no, you can say fuck you to me and all that. And she was trying, I promise you. Then Alan is like, but then she should fucking end it. Alan says he struggled. He asked. And David says ditto. Oh my God. And then David says, how do you think it feels to tell you this? And I'm like, this is why he was matched with Michelle. Because back then, when Michelle would tell him all these horrible things, that she would like, it feels bad. It doesn't feel nice for me to say this. Like, it sucks. And I'm like, okay. And David just keeps screaming. It just happened, bro. It just happened. Like, we didn't mean it to be. Alan says, did you fuck her? I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I
I
wish
mean,
they were
I kind
playing
of
like
wanted to
God.
know.
I wish they were playing Godfather music in the background. That's the thing. David says, no. And I'm like, yeah, we're supposed to believe you, David. And then he says, she knows more about me than my fucking wife, bro. I'm like, why are you yelling? Like, this is not the absolute temperament to come into this conversation with.
Yeah, what does that have to do with anything? Who? What? She knows you better than your wife. Okay, that gives you a right to cheat with her. Like, I don't even understand his thought process for saying that.
Yeah, there is no like justification for this at all. Alan asks like if he sees something where this could be a thing, and David was like, "I'm not gonna lie, bro. Yes, 100%." Alan says, "You know what? Go for it, bro. I'm done." And then he walks away. And David is like, "Alan, Alan, Alan." I'm like, "Okay, Alan's no chump. He's only guilty of the crime of caring for his wife. That's all."
Yeah.
Alan walks in, slams the door, takes off his jacket, and MM is like, "Are you okay?" Juan is like, "He shouldn't drive." MM goes to give him a hug. Juan comes out, starts with his pacifist stuff, and Alan says, "I just want to hurt somebody." And they tell him to breathe. Juan starts with his, "The good thing about life is that it always goes on." No shit, Sherlock. Thank you. He says he knew that she wasn't into him, but he was keeping himself on that level and it didn't have to go this long. And then he's like, I just spent fucking 3 grand on clothes last week. And I'm like, this poor guy. Plus the Invisalign, which should be
Plus
about like
the line. That's
5,000. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. He says he doesn't want to see her, that his skin is crawling. MM is like, just keep the respect. And he's like, when have I? I'm not going to disrespect her or anything. Juan is like, with temperatures high. He says he's going home. At this point, I'm just really hoping they don't let him drive. Spoiler alert, they do. And I'm like, is this a
No,
good idea, guys? Hmm?
he got an Uber.
He did? I
Hmm.
saw him getting to the white car. Okay.
But his car is not white. His car
Oh,
is
it's
black.
not?
No. Hmm.
Oh.
He got into the back of a Uber. It was the back of a car.
Oh,
Or
okay.
whoever car it was. It wasn't his.
Okay. Okay, that's good because I'm like, yeah, he's in no condition. Again, granted, it's 36 minutes away, but he's in no position to drive. Says, I got you. I'm going to go make sure that no one is there. As Madison is asking does he want a conversation? Oh, now you think that he might want a conversation. Okay. Alan walks in, kicks the cabinet, and then she's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, he doesn't want a conversation. Everyone is standing around. And then that's when I realized, like, oh, wait, Michelle didn't get the conversation. Because if David is telling Alan, then, you know, Madison should have got to tell Michelle, let's keep it 50-50. Like, I don't know what the plan was. Alan should know, but Michelle, it doesn't matter. He tells, I don't know who was talking to Juan, that everyone he's met has liked him except her. Like it was to the point of like she looked at him like even tonight like with disgust and stuff. And oh God, I felt so bad
No.
for
I
Alan.
know.
Felt so bad for him. She asks him, if he is okay, and he says he just doesn't want to do something stupid in front of her. And this is Michelle. And she says, I'm sorry. And then, Michelle can't help herself. She's like, so who told you? Did she tell you? She's like, and he's like, no, David did. And she's like, yeah, I had no facts. And then Alan says, a woman's intuition. My mom told me this, all the time. Always trust it. So this was a point where I thought that he drove. I thought I saw him, but thank God he got into an Uber. Then Michelle asks, like, do you she goes to David and she's like, "Do you want to say anything to me?" And he's like, "Sure." Then she's like, he said something about I'm sorry or something, and she's like, "About what?" He was like, "For lying." She's like, "Lying about what?" And then it's like the text messages, the everything. Then there wasn't really anything to say because they've gone round and round in circles. So she says, "So what was it?" And he was like, "Oh, a connection, with Madison." And she's like, "Oh, okay." And then you made me look crazy. I don't. Should she drop it at this point?
No, because no one has actually told her that she's right. That's all she's waiting for. That's literally all she's waiting for. She's waiting for someone to tell her that she's right, and no one is giving her that satisfaction. So she's frustrated.
Oh my god. And I think this is probably how she felt at the table where she was trying to talk about David and she felt no one was listening to her. So once again, they've cut her out of this entire revelation, even though she's the one who figured everything out
She
of
just
this.
wants some credit.
So she says, after everything, telling me, oh, you're a great guy or whatever. And he's like, I still think I'm a great guy. I'm like, uh, uh, you know, I always say this. Self confidence and delusion, there's a thin line. Delusion will take you a long way because nobody can tell you nothing. Like you can convince yourself that you are whatever it is that you think that you are, and so be it. So he says, you know, she asked him, Madison asked him questions daily, and she knows more about him than
Uh,
she does. And she goes, oh, that's what it was.
why does he keep saying this? Like, why does he keep bringing this up? It's not, just let it go. Just let
David's
it
always
go.
sounds rehearsed. Michelle tells us in the confessional that David is a child, he's a liar, he's literal trash, to have no regard for her or Alan. And then Michelle knocks on Madison's door because, like you said, she's just looking for that satisfaction of you are right. And then she knocks on it and was like, do you have anything to say? And then she's like, not if you come guns a blazing. Like, I don't have anything to say then. And that's how the episode ends.
Yeah, pretty much. But how did she expect her to come to her? Like, I don't understand. You just lied to me 30 minutes ago after I asked you over and over again. Like, I don't understand these people. And
They
shout
should
out
have.
having a Michaela moment.
Wait, say that again.
I
Say that
said, shout out to Alan having the Michaela moment when he was
again.
punching the cabinets. I was like, oh, Alan.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. This was highly entertaining. The way it was laid out, the way it was done, it was great. And I'm looking forward to next week. But Ikechi makes a comeback, so there's that.
I
But
got instantly irritated as soon as I saw him in the pre.
I do like the experts were there. And then they said, "Have you been physical?" And Dr. Pia says, "Wait, wait, wait, wait. I have to call you out of your like, hasn't David learned that the lying doesn't work out? You have cameras on you 24/7. It will come out anyways. You might as well be honest right now."
Yeah, like you've come this far. You've already. I think that now they don't want to admit when the affair started.
Hmm.
This is their new cover up
It's
because
too late.
they can just say, oh, it started with a stupid text message that didn't get sent to her. By the way, do you think she really did get the text message? Like he sent it to Michelle by accident, but he also really did send it to Madison?
Oh, that's a good question. I have no idea. I think because they were probably paranoid, they are doing the thing of send me a message and I delete it immediately. So maybe after he made that mistake, you'll be double paranoid. You know how like sometimes when you take a screenshot and you're like, "Oh my god, don't send it to the person that
Yes.
is supposed to be." And then sometimes I'm just like, "Okay, I'm not sending anything anymore." So, but they're stupid. So he might have just sent it. He might have just sent it because of her answer, right? It wasn't meant to be. I don't know. What do you think?
I think he sent it to her.
He doesn't even need to send it. They'll see each other
Eh,
again.
Yeah. It didn't even right then that moment. This is how I was feeling.
Was there anything else that you wanted to talk about in this episode that I missed or anything?
Um, no. Oh, I was gonna say, what did you think about Juan and Carla's sexual innuendos that they
Nothing.
would nothing?
Nothing. If they're not gonna do anything, like they can keep it. Like thanks, but no thanks for your nothing. It's giving. Give us nothing, girl.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, my. One
Yeah.
couple it out. Not a
Yeah.
good, but hey.
All right. Who has your bouquet for the episode?
Okay, so low key, I'm not gonna lie. I did want to give it to Michelle just because of the way her investigative skills just it sent me this episode. But I will give it to Alan just because my heart was breaking for him this entire episode.
So it's a pity bouquet.
Well, you don't have to say it like that. I'm giving it to Alan.
All right. Okay.
Who gets your bouquet?
Believe it or not, and I promise it's not because you said it. I wrote it down. Michelle gets my bouquet. Like I dragged her all through, but honestly, what she did took balls. What she did was impressive. What she did gave us one of the best episode of MAFS. What she did called out people. Like we're gonna put all her transgressions aside for this moment and standing ovation, bro. She did the damn thing. So well done, Michelle. I'll give you that.
Touche, touche, touche.
Who has your ashes?
Oh gosh. David and Madison.
Okay.
They can share it. They deserve
Mhm.
it. They're already sharing everything else. So
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, they're the only people that can get it. This is so mine is the same. Like, just it was just terrible. Everything about it was terrible. The lies, the lies, the lies, the no feeling for Alan, and also the kind of no feeling for Michelle, even though but it's just disrespectful all around and just awful. And then the we didn't come here to make friends. Oh
you're
gosh,
my ride or die. What?
gosh. I mean, he
No.
said, "I can see you as my ride or die." But yeah.
Same difference. No. Very yucky, as Madison would say.
Well, It's a good setup for next week. So I'm hoping next week is just as entertaining. I see things burning. I see the experts around. So I am looking forward to this. The only thing is not knowing how many episodes are left on
That's
this.
about maps. They keep you guessing because then you
Yeah.
think after decision day, the
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Hope you loved the episode as much as we did. Please give me a 5-star rating if you can on Apple Podcast and Spotify. And you can join the conversation on Instagram, Blue Sky, Twitter. It's Altacall Maths, ALTARCALLMAFS. And if you want to send an email, just add at gmail.com. Thank you, Lola, for being here this week.
Thank you so much for having me. This was such a fun episode.
You are welcome. And until next week, guys, bye.